Have you ever looked at the Statue of Liberty and just wondered, how on earth did they build that thing back in the 1800s? It's not like they had giant 3D printers or heavy-lift drones. The story is an incredible feat of engineering, friendship, and a whole lot of fundraising. It all started in France. A gift from the French people to the United States to celebrate 100 years of independence. The sculptor, Frédéric Auguste Bartholdi, was the visionary. He knew he could unjust carve a 151-foot-tall woman out of stone. It would be way too heavy to transport and assemble. So, he needed a different approach. He decided to make a copper skin over a steel skeleton. Think of it like a giant, hollow metal sculpture. The first step was creating a small clay model. Bartholdi then scaled this model up, again and again, creating larger and larger plaster versions. The final full-size plaster model was so huge, it had to be built in sections. Imagine a giant hand, a piece of the torch, or a section of a robe, each one a massive sculpture on its own. Now, how do you get the shape from the plaster onto metal? This is where a clever technique called the repousse came in. Craftsmen built huge, wooden molds that perfectly matched the curves of the plaster sections. Then, they took thin copper sheets, about the thickness of 2 pennies, and hammered them into these molds by hand. It was painstaking work, with over 300 copper pieces being hammered into shape, one by one. While all this was happening in Paris, another genius was working on the inside. You might have heard of him, Gustave Eiffel, the same guy who later built the Eiffel Tower. He was tasked with designing the internal support structure. What he came up with was brilliant. He designed a flexible, iron and steel skeleton, a central pylon that would bear the statue's massive weight. Attached to this skeleton were iron bars that would connect to the inside of the copper skin. This design was key because it allowed the statue to be strong but also have a little bit of give. The copper skin isn't rigidly bolted to the frame. Instead, it is held by flexible iron straps that let the metal expand and contract with temperature changes, and even sway slightly in the wind. Without this flexibility, the statue would have probably torn itself apart years ago. So, by 1884, the statue was fully assembled in a park in Paris. It towered over the city, a stunning preview of what was to come. People could even climb up inside it. But then came the next huge challenge: how to get it to America. The statue was carefully disassembled, piece by piece. All 350 parts were packed into 214 wooden crates. In 1885, a French Navy ship called the Isar was loaded with this giant jigsaw puzzle and set sail across the Atlantic. It even hit a storm and nearly sank, but it made it safely to New York Harbor. But there was a problem. The statue had arrived, but the pedestal it was supposed to stand on wasn't finished. America was responsible for building the base, and fundraising had stalled. The project was in jeopardy. This is where Joseph Pulitzer, the famous newspaper publisher, stepped in. He launched a massive fundraising campaign in his newspaper, The New York World. He printed the name of every single person who donated, no matter how small the amount. This made everyday people feel like they were part of the project. School children sent in pennies. Families donated their savings. In just a few months, more than 120,000 people donated, raising the final $100,000 needed. With the money secured, the pedestal, one of the largest concrete structures of its time, was completed. Now, the final assembly could begin. Workers, many of them new immigrants, painstakingly reassembled the statue on what was then called Bedloe's Island. They put the skeleton up first. Then piece by piece, they attached the copper skin, working their way up like a giant vertical puzzle. Finally, on October 28, 1886, the Statue of Liberty was officially dedicated. It was a celebration of freedom, friendship, and a testament to the incredible ingenuity and collaboration of hundreds of people on both sides of the Atlantic. So the next time you see Lady Liberty, remember the journey. From a small clay model in Paris, hammered into shape by craftsmen, supported by Eiffel's genius, and finally paid for by the pennies of ordinary Americans. It's an amazing story. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to subscribe for more stories like this one.